it's Junie checking back in with all of you guys. I hope all of you are doing well. I just wanted to come on and wish all of you a happy Thanksgiving. And I hope that you enjoy your families tomorrow. Don't mind me, I'm having a messy hair bun day today. I had a messy hair bun day at work today. I just wanted to jump on real quick and talk to you guys about Summer Wells. I'm trying to get in bed early tonight because I'm gonna have to get up real early tomorrow and put the turkey in at like 6 a.m. It's not gonna be. It's just gonna be our personal family. It's nothing major. Just my own little immediate family. But still, I got a lot of food to cook, and didn't want to mess with my hair while I'm cooking. I like my hair up while I cook. I don't know if you guys are like that, but when I'm cooking, I like my hair out of my way. So anyway, I wanted to talk to you guys about Summer Wells and some of the names that have been going around in the Summer Wells case. It's just a lot going on, and it makes me want to really double check some of the name placements. Now, some astrologers use asteroid names a lot. Some astrologers don't. Some astrologers like to use Sabian symbols. Some astrologers don't. Some astrologers like to, I'm not like every astrologer. That's for sure. I pull tarot. I talk to spirit boxes. I'm a mixture. And because I do true crime, you don't really fit in a lot of the astrology world, because a lot of astrologers don't really like to talk about doing true crime or looking at the dark side of astrology. I've always been interested in that part of astrology. Well, not always, but when I realized that it could show accidents, or it could show if you being in danger, or that's really when I started to get interested in it. And it can show some medical conditions and things like that, which led me into kind of true crime. So, some astrologers don't want to talk about the dark side. I mean, each planet, each sign has a very beautiful positive side, and a sign can have a neutral side, and then it can have a dark side, right? And so I focus more so on that dark side of what that planet or what that sign can bring forward. And just because if you ever are told that you have a tough placement. I have a couple of really tough placements in my astrology, but you have to remember that the planets are always moving. Nothing is permanent, right? And I think back at some of the serial killer charts that I've looked at. You're looking at Ted Bundy's chart, or the Green River Killer, looking at their astrology. It's fascinating. Casey, I mean, he has a pentagram in his chart, and the pentagram is usually a very positive. It can be a very positive thing. There can be people that have blessings in their chart, but somehow those blessings turn dark, right? So, like I said, just because you're given we're blessed with this blueprint, that when we're born, we're given this blueprint to start our lives with. Okay, we are born. The first house means I am born. The first house is who's at the helm of the wheel, right? So like the first house is who's driving the vehicle, and who rolls down the window and talks to the police officer if you get pulled over is the first house. That's the person who talks to the cop, not your sun sign, right? I'm a Cancer. I'm a born Cancer. But when I get pulled over by a cop, a Leo will answer the window. If someone knocks at my front door, it's a Leo who greets that person, right? I'm a Leo. So, and I'm a Mercury moon. So I'm very emotional. I feel things, and I want to express my emotions through my words and how I communicate. My hands. I use my hands to communicate a lot. Plus, there's so much. So just because if someone ever told you on your astrology that you got tough placement, it doesn't mean that's bad. It always, we have free will, we have freedom of choice, and the planets are always moving around that original blueprint that you're born with. The planets are always in transit, moving around the blueprint that you were born with, right? So, just Mercury, we have these retrogrades, and everyone freaks out when Mercury retrograde is happening, but sometimes Mercury retrograde has a little lesson in there. We don't always have to believe everything we read. We don't always have to believe everything we hear. To double check things, to watch our own words, to watch how we communicate, to cross our T's, to dot our I's, to get organized, right? To declutter, to try our best to declutter with the Mercury retrogrades, things of that nature. To question things, the sign that it's in, right? Whatever sign that Mercury retrograde is in, it puts more of a focus on that. Oh yeah, it's pretty interesting. So I wanted to go over some of the name placements now, just because, if a person's name shows up, like Stacy Wanderer and Sarah Wanderer, they show up in the 8th house. It doesn't mean that they're guilty, but it is suspicious because that is the house that does rule killers. That doesn't mean that they did it, okay? It's just astrology, but it is, to me, very suspicious, all right? For me personally, that's my own personal opinion, looking at the astrology. That makes me a little nervous. Again, it doesn't mean that they did anything, but it is the house that rules some pretty dark things, okay? And so when names show up in the 8th house, it is a house that can rule some pretty dark things, some secretive things, and it does rule killers. The 7th house rules your open enemy, who is the open enemy to the victim. The polar opposite is the 7th to 1st house, right? The AC line, the DC line. AC/DC, you think of the rock band, right? Polar opposite, okay? AC/DC. AC line rules the 1st house there, and that rules the victim, what's happening with the victim, who's surrounding the victim. So if a name placement shows up in the 1st house, yeah, that's a little suspicious to me, right? Because that rules the victim and who's directly around the victim. Now, they could be directly in front of the victim. If they're like 0-degree orb, that is, to me, is if I have Summer's asteroid and a person's name that is 0-degree orb on top of Summer, that's suspicious to me, okay? Or if I have a 0-degree orb on top of Algol, that's suspicious to me, because Algol is very evil. He's a demonic star, right? And crime, all right? In your natal chart, Algol can give you a lot of power, but he's still kind of evil, so you got to watch him. And then, you have, so if somebody shows up in the 4th house, that's the end of the matter, in the womb and in the tomb. If a asteroid name placement shows up in the 4th house, I'm kind of suspicious of that too, in a little way, because they're surrounding the victim at the end of it, okay? So, and that's connected to kind of where a body could be as well. And you can learn all this if you watch, please support our forensic criminal astrologers out there that are way more knowledgeable than me. Kirsty McIntosh, buy her book. There's Missy from Forensic Astrology. There's Astrology for Mystics. She's a great forensic astrologer. She really focuses on the degrees. And then there's Val Evans. I mean, if you want to really learn about forensic criminal astrology, these are people that you should be watching and, buying their books and learning as much as you can from them. Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and just look at Summer's charts and look at some of these name placements that have been mentioned this week. There's a lot of names that are being mentioned that I'm very curious about. So we'll see how it plays out, okay? And see where these names show up on the charts. I'm going to look at Frank Hill. There is a Frank Hill asteroid. I'm going to look at Randall, Randy, and a Paul, and see where these names show up, okay? All right, here we go. Okay, so here is Summer Wells' crime chart. This is at about 3:30. So we know that she got home. I've heard mixed stories, but anywhere between 2:40 and 3 something, a little after 3. So this is at 3:30 when Candace says she gets up and jumps up and gets out of the back of the vehicle. This is kind of around that time frame. So earlier in the day, Summer is being ruled by Libra, which makes her Venus on the crime chart. Now, I do have a Frank Hill. That asteroid's actual name is Frank Hill. I hope my fan's not too loud in the background. My husband just came in and he turned on the fan. So, he is at 20 degrees. The AC line is at 20 degrees. I have a Paul at 20 degrees. Summer is at a fated 29 degrees. I have Zeus at 20 degrees. And Frank is at the same degrees as he's got a tight orb next to Zeus. Zeus can rule having a belief, having a sense of justice, and being in Libra can mean could mean enemy, everyone who's not us, legal issues, things of that nature. Now, I'm not saying that Frank Hill did anything to Summer Wells. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I also have a Roy, R-O-Y, in this house. I have a David in this house. I had a light in this house at one point. I can't remember how I spelled it. And I just wanted to look at Frank and see what it looked like. Candace is in this house at 3 degrees, which means she's in her local neighborhood. She's either traveling in her local area, her local town. 3 degrees is the smaller single streets, smaller roads. And that she might be texting or communicating, and I think she's talking about something. If she is communicating, it's about something pretty dark, because she's in Scorpio. She's crossed over that line in Scorpio. Poseidon is in the first house too. That can mean taking pictures. If you think of Poseidon rules Hollywood. He rules the film industry. He rules being hidden, secrets. He's connected to Neptune and the sign of Pisces. So that can be kind of like photographs. Think of that. I know with her, Candace, she could have been communicating with a cell phone or taking pictures of Summer. Not sure. It is kind of suspicious how the Wells' phone that footage on their phone was just, we don't have a record of it. There's things that are missing off of the Wells phone that I've never felt comfortable with. And Poseidon also rules drugs because he's connected to Neptune. Scorpio is connected to death, transformation, secrets, things that are hidden as well. It's dark energy there, that Scorpio there on a crime chart. Remember, this isn't a natal chart. This is a crime chart. 20 degrees is a degree of death. It is a degree of the 8th house. So death and transformation, that our victim is already starting to show signs of transformation here and possibly trauma. Libra can rule people that you know or people who are your enemies. Libra can rule lust crimes. And that she's on a hill. Libra rules hilly, airy areas, places that are higher up. So she would have been elevated up at this time when she got home. Like I said, this is at 3:30, and the astrology is speaking to us, letting us know that she's on a hill. In her neighborhood. Okay? In her area there. She's on a hill. Higher up, and she's surrounded by people that she probably knows. Okay, here, and let's look. If she's Libra, then that means she's Venus. So we'll go ahead and look at Venus, and you can kind of see that when she switches over to Mars and Pluto, it's like this dance that Mars and Venus do with Summer throughout the day. Okay, let's go ahead and look at Venus. All right, so now we're looking at Venus. And she is smack dab on the MC line. So she would be seen. She is home. So by 3:32, the astrology is letting us know that our victim is being ruled by Libra, which makes our victim at this moment, which is summer, as the planet as Venus. Venus is showing up at home with her family. Okay? She's seen in the open, and she is at home with her family between 2:30, on her way home with her family between 2:30 and 3:30. I would even say into 4:30. This kind of is the same until like I said, the 911 call, the AC line switches over to Scorpio, so it changes a little bit, and that's when she becomes Mars and Pluto. So right now she's Venus, and she's conjunct, the name there is Randy. Summer Wells is at 16 degrees. That's a Cancer degree. She's with her mother, her family home. She's with her mother. And it looks like 14 degrees, there's a Randy. 14 degrees. If Aries is 13 degrees, 14 degrees would be Taurus. And that is kidnapping, or that someone is looking for something with value, okay? It's next to Kronos, which Kronos is connected to Saturn and Capricorn, which rules a physical body, at the 12th degree, which is hidden, at the 12th degree, which means conspiracy, which means delusion, illusion, lies, drugs, and things of that nature. But it also is connected to a skeleton, because Kronos is connected to Father Time. He rules our bodies, okay? So I do find that suspicious. I have Hades at 9 degrees. 9 degrees is, if we're looking at miles, if I wanted to use Hades as a mile marker, that would be that Hades is 9 miles away. And that's Hades, if you know the story of Persephone, Hades kidnapped and took someone away and hid them underground, right? Or took them and hid them. And we're looking at crime, so that's how we would look at Hades. I mean, on your natal chart, we would look at Hades a little bit differently. On your natal chart, we would look at everything differently. This is looking at it in a criminal mindset, okay? So I do find it suspicious that our victim has such a tight orb next to the name of Randy, and Randy showing up at that degree it's just a little suspicious. Of course, Randy Hill is given the presumption of innocence until proven guilty. I'm just, it's not my job to accuse anyone of being guilty. That really isn't my job. My job is just to talk to you about the astrology and tell you, like, yeah, this could be very suspicious. It's really not my job to say they did it, or you know what I'm saying? Like, it's really not my place. My place is just to tell you how the planets talk to us. And yes, I am suspicious of Randy being that close to Summer's ruling planet. Okay? Another thing that makes me a little uncomfortable is that she's at a 22 degrees at the MC line. 22 degrees is kill or be killed degree. Even Hygeia is at an 18th degree, and that's a devil degree. That's like the devil is there with her health. Don Wells is at 21 degrees there, and Don Wells is conjunct Medusa. So I am still suspicious of the parents. I mean, I'm very suspicious of the parents, okay? Because when Summer starts to show up in Scorpio, Candace goes into the 12th house of sorrow and endings, your self-undoing, your self-unfolding, conspiracy, lying. She also shows up in a degree of drinking or being under the influence of some sort. And the moon is showing that as well. Some type of being under the influence. Don Wells at 21 degrees Leo. That's another degree that's can be, it's not the best. It's not the best, okay? Okay, so let's look to see where else Randy shows up on the chart. And we'll take a look at the 7th house, and we'll take a look at Algol. Okay, so we're still at 332, looking at the 8th house, the 7th house, and the DC line. So the DC line's at 20, which is ruled by the 8th house. So we're still looking at possibly that the victim is under some type of transformation. Between 3:30, I'd say really between 2:30 and 4:30 is a hot spot for summer. Uranus is entering the 7th house in the 13th degree. That could be an accident of some sort, because the 13th degree rules Aries. So, and Uranus is the planet of shock, something unexpected. In a degree of Taurus, in the sign of Taurus. Taurus rules, again, something of value. It can rule kidnappings. It can rule being out in the garden. It can rule being out in earth, or an earth sign, or something of that nature. And being outside, playing, being outside in earth. It's an earth sign. But it can mean that she's looked at as value, okay? And this is the house that rules the open enemy. And could it have been, just hypothetically, Don and Candace know a lot of shady people, okay? Let's just be honest here. They know a lot of shady people. There was a Paul that was living up at their house, I believe in their shed. And I just keep, I have a spirit box session that says Bill's guys, and they give the name Paul. They have said 4 people involved, 4 people know. They do not speak highly of the parents, but that's just a spirit box. The last session I just did, the spirit box said that Ronnie Lawson's getting ready to try to arrest someone. They might actually try to arrest someone. That's kind of what the spirit box hinted around tonight about, that he's planning on it or wants to, and it could happen soon. So I don't know. I mean, again, that's just a spirit box. You can't take a spirit box as fact. I'm going to try to put the spirit box clips together for you guys. So we do have a Paul that's conjunct Algol. Not in a good house, guys. These 2 houses here rule the open enemy and death and transformation. So, yeah, I mean, it's very suspicious. So, and then you have Randy at a 7th degree in the 8th house of death and transformation and dark things. Okay, again, I'm not accusing Randy Hill of being the Randy, but there's a Randy there. It's the 7th degree, which rules relationships, disputes, enemies. And summer is being ruled by Libra on this chart right now. The AC line is being ruled by Libra, which is the 7th degree, the seventh sign. And there's Randy at the 7th degree. I have him conjunct her north node, her fate. And then you have that big red T-square that's just pointing right over to some type of accident. So could there have been an accident? Could there have been wanting to be some type of transactional thing with Summer, and it turned out to be some big accident? Don Wells is conjunct Medusa as a father and, with family. It's not good that he's conjunct Medusa like that. It's kind of weird. And I'm not accusing Don Wells of doing anything to Summer. I'm just saying, hypothetically, it doesn't look good that he's conjunct Medusa. So it'd be interesting to know how the wells are connected. Now, I will tell you, Fred Hill, this was probably like a year ago. I put a synastry chart on top of the crime chart. I put Fred Hill's birth chart over top of the crime chart. And I will tell you that Fred Hill is fated to this case. He is fated to Summer's crime that day because the MC line matches up with the IC line. Now, there's good and bad things about that. One, the MC line rules Fred Hill's reputation. So Fred Hill's reputation will be forever linked to this crime, to this event of Summer Wells. Now, it can be a positive thing. That could be, I could look at it. I could look at it at both ways. And of course, there's a lot of other things that we have to look at when we do synastry charts. But I do remember that standing out to me the most is that Fred Hill has a fated connection to that day that Summer went missing. Now, it could be very positive or it could be very negative. I really don't know. And like I said, it's not my job to accuse anyone really in this case. It's difficult to accuse anyone in this case because there's just there's so many people involved. I mean, I might be able to pull up any other neighbor that lived in that area and they might even show up kind of the same way as Fred because it's affected everyone in that area so deeply that lived on that road. So like I said, I'm not saying that he did anything this summer. I'm just saying that there is a fated element to his reputation and his persona, and that he would be deeply connected to this, that it would change his life forever, is showing up on the synastry chart of Fred Hill's natal chart over top of the crime chart. Maybe another astrologer might look at that and see something different. I don't know. But how I look at it is that it's fated. Fred Hill is fated and connected to this case no matter what. Hopefully it's for the best. For Ziggy's sake, I really like Ziggy. I like Ziggy a lot. And I know she wants Fred Hill to be exonerated. I know that deep down Ziggy wants Fred Hill to be looked at as innocent. For her sake, I hope that for her too. I don't think that Fred did anything, but he is fated. He is connected to this deeply. So, and it is going to be connected to his reputation for the rest of his life. And I just don't know what that means. Like I said, it could be very positive. It could mean that he helped solve the case, or it could mean that he's connected somehow. I just don't know how. I've always felt that he crossed paths or knows the people that. I've always said that to Ziggy. I've always said, Ziggy, he's either crossed paths with or he is deeply connected to the people that did something to Summer, or knows the people that did something to Summer. Not that he is directly involved, but just that he's crossed paths. And when I did the synastry charts, he is connected. There is a fated element to Fred Hill's natal chart to Summer's crime chart. So, okay. All of you enjoy your Thanksgiving tomorrow. Again, I'm not accusing anyone of doing anything to Summer, okay? Everyone is considered innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, until a judge says that they are guilty and sentences them to jail. Everyone is innocent. This is me just giving my astrological opinion about little things that I'm seeing in the charts. So, and I'm not saying that Paul Hill is guilty either. There was another Paul. There's another Andy. There's another Paul. So some of these names match up to other people. You know what I'm saying? So, but it is interesting, isn't it? How the astrology talks to us is kind of mind-blowing. All right, in the meantime, enjoy your family tomorrow. Blessed be. Bye-bye.